Hi and welcome. We're going to go through the Miniscules of Copperplate, but before we're going to go through the basic strokes that make up all Miniscules. Give or take, you've always got a couple of exceptions, but if you can master these basic strokes, then you have the majority of the alphabet already. So the first one that we're going to go through, so if I just put a little number 1 right here, she says. This is a new nib to me, so right, so we have number 1. Our first stroke is going to be the entry stroke, which is going to start. There we go. So if I just clean my nib off really quickly here. It's the most common one that's seen, and it's in pretty much all letters in some capacity. So the entry stroke, so if I just put that right here, so we've got entry stroke. Is an upward stroke, so it has no pressure. It should only be made by the weight of the nib and the pen on the paper, and that's, you want to try and get that as little as possible. So, oh, can you focus just there? Come on, focus, thank you. All right, so we're going to start the stroke parallel to the baseline, so the bottom should look as if it is pointing left. So if I put a little note here, begins parallel to baseline. See if I can fit that in there. Main frame. No. Yep. Okay, and then by the time we're done, so by the time we've finished the entry stroke, it should be parallel to the slant line. So if I put this right here, so parallel to slant line. My slant line is 55 degrees. You can have it 54, it is just a personal preference. Parallel to slant line at the end. It's to be done in one stroke, that's why it's called the entry stroke. It is done in one go. It is possible, if you like run out of ink or whatever, to meet back up with it and do it in 2 parts, but normally it is done as one. Okay, so the entry stroke, if I do a few here, I'll show you. So this is also practice for me. So I can go right here. I'm going to start parallel to the baseline, sweep up until I'm parallel to the slant line. The ink I'm using today is walnut ink. Walnut ink is really good for practice. It's a thin, delicate ink, and it's also quite easy to get a hold of, either just from the husks from trees, or if you buy the crystals in just to dilute it. It's quite simple. Okay, so that is the entry stroke. The second one that we're going to look at, so if I just put a little number 2 just right down here. Hopefully that's still in frame. I think it is. Move a little that way. There we go. The second one is the oval. The oval is probably the most pivotal thing in Miniscules. Come on. As it dictates a lot of things. So if we go through it really, really quickly, if I just use a different colour right here, so that's easy to see what's for what. So this is the oval. The oval is normally started somewhere between the 12 o'clock, so that would be like here, and somewhere between the 3 o'clock. I started it, I like to say I started about 1:30, but if you find it easier to start it at 3 o'clock and then meet back up with yourself, that's absolutely fine. If you choose to start it at 12 o'clock and meet back up, that's absolutely fine. So if I say start between, between with 2 E's in, start between 12 to 3. So that is our first little rule for the oval. The oval should point along the slant line. So if you had to draw a line halfway through it to divide it in half longways, then that should be the slant line. So it should point along the slant line. So that's along the 55-degree line. Okay, the oval is going to dictate also a lot of your parallel strokes. So if I show you the letter O just by itself, which is just an oval, so that's going to combine the two things we've gone through already. So it's going to combine together an entry stroke. I'm still in frame there, am I? I think I am. With an oval. Okay. So that is an O. The important things to note right here, I think what colour was I using? Orange. The important things to note here are the entry stroke. Whatever angle you've got that going at should be echoed over here. So this line and this line should be parallel. If they are not, then it's going to look as if one is leaning into the other or further away from each other, and it's not going to look consistent. Your oval, I read this in a book a long time ago, and I think it's probably right, but for my script, I just find that my my ratios when I make my letters, I don't like them to look too thin. I prefer them a little bit further apart, but it said that the oval should be at least twice as tall as it is wide. Can I fit that in there? Yeah, potentially. Cool, I think we have a little bit of a sense in there. Okay, so it should be at least twice as tall as it is wide. I did read in a book that it said 3 times, but I think that for me is going to create an oval that I don't really like the look of. But the width of your oval is going to dictate a lot. So if I show you, let's have a look at the word ace. That's a good word to use. So if I just go straight down here, so there's my entry stroke. Shorten that a little bit, but that's okay. Okay, so there is the word ace, and what I can show you on here is the oval. So the width of the oval right here is dictated a lot in this word, so it's also dictated the width of my space between my letters. So that, I say space between letters, what I mean is space between the downstrokes, because that's what's going to draw the eye. So that means even if I had a thin upstroke bisecting that space, that wouldn't be an issue. It needs to be the same width as the oval between downstrokes. That's also going to dictate how wide the C is as well. I've made that gap a little bit short and I'm a bit disappointed in myself, but that's okay. So my gap here is a little short, but it is dictating how wide my E is as well. So the letters A, C and E are all based on the oval. So you can see in the A nice and clearly where the oval is. So you can see the oval right in there. The C here should be, if you continued it on, you should be able to get the same oval, and the E the same. So the E, if you continued that on and made that into an oval, you should be getting the same shape, the same width. Yeah, so we should be able to draw the same oval. I've done this before in my name videos where I've shown you how I overlay like a whole bunch of ovals so that I can check my consistency. And it should also be the width of my gap. Now I've nailed it here, but then I've made this a little bit short, which I'm a bit disappointed in, but that's okay. So this coloured in one right here is a little bit too narrow compared to the others, but those are pretty consistent. The oval's going to dictate a lot, so I'd practice the oval quite a bit. Again, also you've got the same parallel lines, so parallel lines that are going to come in all of these places should be parallel, as would your entry stroke be. Yeah, that's what's going to pull your letters together and make them look consistent as words. Okay, we'll go through the oval a lot, probably in another video because it is going to take some time. I know Suzanne Cunningham did a whole Zoom session just on the oval. It is so integral, so I'm not going to cover it in whatever 5 minutes that I've got. Okay, so the third stroke that we're going to look at is called an underturn. So if I just do one really, really quickly, and then I'll just label it for you there. So that is an underturn. I'm not too happy with that one actually. That's better. Okay, so if what would we go for? Let's go for this one. So this is an underturn. And even your underturns are going to be dictated by your ovals. Just need to clean my nib really quickly, otherwise that walnut ink is going to dry on it and make it unusable. There we go. So on my underturns, I have basically full pressure at the top. So if I go starts, full pressure. But it ends in minimal pressure. I'm just going to move that over a little bit just so I can definitely fit that in. So it ends with minimal pressure. So by the time I get to the bottom, so by the time I get to that baseline, I should be on minimal pressure, because that's when I'm going to turn underneath. You see that when I start it, I start with a flat line. I'll go through that in a second, but that's not necessary. That's a stylistic choice. Okay, the underturn also encompasses an oval. So an oval is contained within it. So if I just put this here, an oval contained within, and that's going to keep your width consistent as well. So if I show you one here, the oval is going to come right in here. That's why I'm not so happy with this one, because it swings a little bit wide for me. Yeah, but the oval is going to come inside of that underturn. Okay, so if I show you a letter with that in, the underturns can be longer as well. So if I show you the word it, have I got enough space here? Yeah, I do. Great. So I'm going to do my entry stroke, really easy. A little line. I do the little line because I like the top of my underturns to be flat. And there is a technique about rolling the pen or just allowing one tine to split, but I find that really hard to do. So I prefer to do it this way. Okay. And then I should have... Okay. And I've swung that a little bit wide as well, but that's okay. Okay. It's good to see and learn it anyway. Right, so in the word it, I have two underturns where I have an entry stroke. The bottom of my underturn should be parallel, just like we saw in the word ace, and the bottom of my T should also be parallel. I should also be able to fit in an oval. So my second one's a little bit wide. I've swung that wider again, but this is my practice as well, so I'll learn and get better. I should be able to fit two ovals side by side in this word. If you can't, or if you can visibly see that your ovals are different sizes, like I'm not so happy with mine, then I would just advise just keep practicing that word or that combination until you get it the way that you want to. That's much better for me. Okay. There we go. Right, so you can clearly see where the ovals are going to go. The underturn finishes about halfway. So my underturn is finishing right here. So if I put that as a rule right up here, so finish halfway up X height. Okay, and that's because it can be an entry stroke again. So this can be an entry stroke by itself into another letter. So that is why. Okay, so we're going to move on to the next one, which I want to show you an overturn. So have I got space? Yeah, I'm good. So if I go right here, so the fourth one is going to be an overturn, and that's exactly what it sounds like. It's the opposite to an underturn. So instead of starting with the full pressure and then going to the no pressure, I'm going to do the opposite. So I'm going to start on no pressure. I'm going to go up and then back down into full pressure. That's about right. I think it's a little bit high for me, but that's okay. And do it a couple of times. Not so happy with that one either. There we go. Much better. Okay, so this is called an overturn. I need to keep cleaning my nibs off, and hold on, just make sure there's no ink left on there. Okay, so this is called an overturn, where just like before, you're going to start at the halfway instead of finishing at the halfway, and you're going to go from no pressure to full pressure downstroke. So if I put that as rules right here, so we put it here. Can I fit it here? Yeah. Okay. So starts minimal pressure because it is an upstroke. Ends in full pressure. So that's exactly the opposite to our underturn. And you should also have an oval within it. So I'll show you that in a second. So an oval is contained within. Still in the frame? Yeah, I am. Amazing. So if I show you the oval should be contained within that. Yeah, and you can see it's exactly the same as the underturn, but the oval is contained underneath instead of on top of it. Nice and easy. We're going to not finish halfway up the X height because we finished right at the bottom, but we're going to start halfway up the X height instead. So start halfway up the X height. Okay, and that's all an overturn is. You'll see it a lot in letters like M or H. So if I show you it onto here, I think an underturn is way more common. Some people write their R's with an overturn as well. So an M's actually really tricky. There we go. So with an M, oh, you can see I've started halfway along my X height. Yeah, so I've started halfway and I've actually got two overturns right next to each other. That's a calligrapher's nightmare where two things the same are put right next to each other so you can easily see the difference. So it's just about trying to get that consistency so that we've got 1, 2, and then 3 consistent ovals next to each other. Okay, where you start the second one. So some people make the mistake when they make an M, they do the first one all perfect, and then for some reason they won't go down far enough for their next bit, and it looks, if it should be here, you can see it's getting higher and higher up and away from that, so we start halfway, and then if I put that, it's just going to look really strange if you're not consistent with where you're starting the overturns. Yeah, so they've always got to be on that halfway line. Yeah, okay, that is an overturn. And then you've seen what I've done at the end. The end stroke of an M is not an overturn nor an underturn. It is a combination of both. And we call that a compound turn because it is exactly what it says on the tin. It's both, isn't it? It's compounded. So this is stroke number 5. A compound turn. So I'm going to start it halfway, exactly like we did for the overturn. I'm going to get to this point and I'm going to turn back. I'm going to do it again, just because I'm probably going to need a couple of examples. I think that's about right. Okay. Alrighty. So in a compound turn, I don't know if this yellow is going to show, but I will try. That's all right. Compound turn. So in a compound turn, you're going to start at the halfway point and you're going to finish at the halfway point. Okay, so we start and end on minimal pressure. So I'll put that here. So start and end minimal pressure. If I'm still, oh, I'm going out of frame, aren't I? There we go. Start and end minimal pressure. I'm gonna start and end halfway up the X height. Start and end halfway. Up the X height. Okay, and then the middle right here should be a gradual increase and decrease in pressure. So so if we put just shows a gradual increase and decrease of pressure. Just put that there. Okay, and then we should have 2 ovals contained within. So 2 ovals contained within. What I mean by that is that we've obviously got one underneath. So it's my first one. And then I've also got one on the other side. And they should be the same size. Yeah. So even if you're laying over a piece of tracing paper, or if you're taking a photo of it and editing it, or you could even just go in like I've done with a different coloured pen to analyse it. But your ovals should be the same width. If you've got one much thinner than the other, then you know that your compound turn is not balanced. And I think that's about that for a compound turn. Can I fit one more in? I've kind of got a little tiny bit of room. No, I'll move it over because it's a taller one, isn't it? So, right, I'm just going to move this over. I've moved and my desk is much smaller, so it's way harder to sort of balance where I'm supposed to go. There we go. I'll move that over there. And then I can move that over a little bit more. Then I'm less likely to fall off the desk. Amazing. So our 6th stroke is an ascender loop. So if I go, my line's even straight there. No, there we go. So my 6th stroke, I'll go here somewhere, is an ascender loop. And how that works is we're going to start not at the baseline, but we're going to start at the header line. And we're going to go up and round and then back down. Okay, that is an ascender loop. Let's have a look. What colour have I got now? I've got some purple. That'll do. So this is an ascender loop. So I'm going to send a loop. It's your choice how far up you want to take it. So this is my X height right here. You can see, oh, I'm even off screen there. Nobody tell me. Right, and then that's 1 times my X height. This would be 2 times, so I'm not quite there. My choice is to go 1.5 times. Yeah, so that's roughly where my ascender loops will go to. The 2 most common are 1.5 times or 2 times. And it's really up to you which one you want to go for. I would just try both with your script and see which one looks better. For me, I've got quite a lightweight script, and putting them further away just made the script feel a bit too light. And it was losing legibility, I think, because of it. So I made the choice to go to 1.5 times. So if I make a note of that and just say either 1.5 or 2 times the X height. Okay. Right then, you are going to start on an upstroke, but inside that should be contained an oval. So if we say has 1 oval contained within, and that oval is going to go smack bang in the middle of here. So the widest part of your ascender is not at the top or the bottom, it'll be in the middle. So your oval's going to sit inside of that loop really quite comfortably. All right, then you've got a gradual increase of pressure. Gradual increase. Oh, I'm off. There we go. Increase of pressure. You also can put onto the bottom, like not a flat end. You could put like an underturn on the bottom of that, which is commonly seen like in the letter L or the letter B. So if I show you a letter B right here, there's my entry stroke and my ascender loop with an underturn bottom. Okay, so there's my letter B. So you can see on here, I've got an increase of pressure coming to this point, and then I've got a decrease of pressure coming to here, and I've got another oval contained in there. Yeah. Okay. So from the point of view in ascender, that shouldn't be what's what I'm looking for? It shouldn't be the same size as your capitals, because your capitals need to be able to stand out in a letter. So either I would increase your pressure for your capitals, or I would increase the size. So they should be the tallest things that you've got, but not as tall as your capitals, or not as thick as your capitals. Okay, so we're going to move on from ascender loops to descender loops. So I think I've got space right here, haven't I? Pretty good. Okay, so if I just put it right here. So descender loops are exactly what you think they are. They're literally opposite. So I'm going to start on full pressure. I'm going to go 1.5 times down and loop back around. I'm not so happy with that one actually. Try it again. Try and get one that I'm a little bit better. Much better. Okay. All right. So, a descender loop. Have I got space? I think I do. So descender loop. Again, it's going to go either 1.5 or 2 times the x height, but it's going to go down obviously instead of up. So 1.5 or 2 times, I think I'm still in frame there, sorry if I'm not, the x height. It does have an oval contained within, exactly the same as your ascender loop. Oh, can I fit? Oh, I don't know if I can fit that there. I'll just put that there. Be a little bit safer. And you've got a gradual decrease of pressure. Okay. Those are our basic strokes. Like I said before, if you can master these, then you have mastered the vast majority of the minuscule alphabet. And it's just a combination of these for each letter. So if I show you a word, then we'll pick it apart and we'll find out where the basic strokes are and how they go together. So if I show you, I think I've got space here, haven't I? If I, oh, come on. Just need a little bit more ink. I can feel it's just a little bit, it's a little bit dry. Okay. All right, so here is the word any. There we go. So in the word any, we have a lot of the basic strokes. It's one of those words that contains a lot of strokes, quite tightly put together. So if I, oh, so I don't know if that's the one I used or not. Hold on. Is that the one I used over there? I think it is. So I'll try on this one. Right, so I've obviously got my entry stroke. I've got an oval. And then I've got a underturn. And then I've got an overturn. Ooh. Flip the direction of my arrows. So an overturn right there. And then I've got a compound turn right here. I'm still in frame, so compound turn, there we go. And then I've got another underturn. I can just point that to there, can't I? And then I've got a descender loop. Okay, so there's actually quite a lot going on, even just in that one word. What I would do for practice going forwards is you can practice the individual strokes if you want to, or you can try practicing putting them together in different ways, or deconstructing your basic letters of the minuscule alphabet to find what basic strokes each letter is made from. I hope that was really clear. If there's any questions or anything, then please let me know in the comments. Thank you so much. Bye bye.